G'day guys, and welcome back to another One Piece deck profile, and welcome back to another budget build. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, and if this is your first budget build that you're seeing, basically how our budget builds work is if you purchase yourself 2 starter decks. So in this case, we're running 2 copies of the brand new starter deck, Starter Deck 11 Uta. So if you manage to pick yourself up 2, this is kind of the optimized build that you can make from the cards available to you. In all honesty, the deck out of the box runs pretty well in itself. There's a few cards you probably want to run more of, which is where this build comes in. So if it is just in your budget to get 1 starter deck, then just go for it, take the 1 starter deck and run with it. If you can get 2, there are some great extras that you can add in, and this is where our build comes in. Now, for those of you that don't know, we get ourselves Uta out of this deck, which is a mono green 5005 life leader. The effect is Don times 1, where attacking once per turn, you can reveal 1 card from the top of your deck, and if it's a film type, you can add it to your hand. If not, it goes to the bottom of the deck. In this deck, every single card is filmed, so every time you activate this effect, you're going to be drawing the top card of your deck, which is really nice, helps you build a nice big hand size. Just got to be careful with it when you're going against purple, anything purple that's going to be running the law that will ditch 2 cards from your hand if you've got 7 or more, so you just got to keep that in mind. Otherwise, this card is absolutely fantastic, gets your hand full of counters. In the starter deck, there is only 1 2k counter, or so we got 4 2k counters in the deck. So a bunch of other 1k counters and some counter events which we can stack up quite nicely with Uta's effect. First of all, we're going to start with an event. We're going to start with our Searcher. We're running a full playset of New Genesis. So this is a card that only comes 2 of in the normal starter deck, but it's absolutely crazy card. For those of you who don't know, cost you 1. The activate main, if your leader is Uta, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You can reveal 1 film card other than New Genesis, add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then you get to reactivate 1 of your Don. So basically this is free. Cost you 1 Don, you reactivate 1 Don, absolutely insane. As I mentioned just before, every single card in your deck is film type in this budget build. So you're always going to be picking something from those 3 cards, which is really, really nice. So depending on what situation in, you may be chasing a blocker, you may be chasing an event that'll help you rest things or swing a few times, or just help you find some characters that can play out other characters. Lots of options. New Genesis is absolutely amazing. Must play out of 4 of. Alright, next up we're going to talk about our cards that help us play other cards out. First of all, we are just running 2 copies of the Law. So Law costs you 2, 3000 body, 1000 counter. Activate main, you can rest the Don, return this character to your hand, then you can play 1 character with a cost of 3 from your hand. It has to be exactly 3, which makes this a little bit tricky. But there is a cool play that you can pull off with the next card that we will talk about in this case. So this is Nico Robin. So we're running 3 copies of Nico Robin. Nico Robin costs you 3. 4000 body, 1000 counter. On play, you can play 1 film or straw hat type card with a cost of 2 or less from your hand. So say if you are going second, which means you start with 2 Don. By the way, in most cases, you probably do want to go second with this deck. A lot of the meta decks do like to go second, like your Sakazuki and your Enel. You want to take that away from them. So, and this play goes quite nicely if you do see it in your hand. Otherwise, if you're going to Purple Luffy, it doesn't really matter. You probably want to go first so you can get a bit of an extra aggression, get some more attacks on early so they can they're less likely to use their leader ability. But going back to the little combo here, so if you are going second, you have 2 Don to start, you play out a Law, then you pass turn, comes back to you, you start your turn with 4 Don, you attach a Don under your leader, you swing, so you get that free draw. Then you've got 3 Don left over, so you put 2 under the Law, you swing at leader for 5k again, then you trigger Law's effect to return Law to your hand. If you have the Robin, you play the Robin out, the Robin lets you then replay the Law, which is absolutely cool. So you get a free swing with the Law, and then he comes back restood, ready to go all over again. So yeah, Nico Robin is one of those cards that are playable off Law. The only other card that's playable off the Law is the Usopp Vanilla, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but that's the other card that you can play off the Law. With the Robin, the other cards you can play off with the Robin, the only one that you will play outside of the Law is the Vanilla Jinbei, so that's the other option that you can play off the Robin. Next up for cards that play other cards, we are running a full playset of Baruch. Brook is 4 cost, 5,000 body, 1,000 counter. On play, you can play one film or straw hat type character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So you can play the Robin, you can play the Law, you can play the Jinbei, which we spoke about, and you can play the Usopp, which we have spoken about as well. The other card that we can play off Brook is Uta. Actually, Uta can also be played off Law as well, because it is a cost of 3, which is the new blocker, which we'll talk about when we get to that in the deck segment. And then the last card that we have that plays out other cards, we are running a full play set of the blocker Monkey D. Luffy. Cost you 7,000 body, no counter. Besides being a blocker on play, you can play one film or straw hat type card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So you play the Luffy, you play the Brook, which plays the Robin, the Law, the Jinbei, the Uta, the Usopp. Lots and lots of options going on right there. The other card that Monkey D. Luffy can play, outside of all the ones we've just mentioned, is it can play the Vanilla Zoro. Once again, we'll talk about the Vanilla Zoro later on in the deck profile. But for 7 Don, you can get up to 4 characters on board, which is absolutely mental. So in order to achieve that, what you need is the Luffy, into the Brook, into the Robin, into the probably your best option out of all of those would be your Vanilla Jinbei. That is a cracked hand. That is almost a full board for just 7 Don. Absolutely wild. Okay, we've spoken a lot about the vanillas. Let's see how many we're running. So we're running a full play set of the Jinbei. 2 cost 4,000 body, 1,000 counter. We're running a full play set of the Usopp, which is a 3 cost 5,000 body, 1,000 counter. We're also running a full play set of the Zoro, 4 cost 6,000 body, 1,000 counter. And we are running 3 more vanillas in Frankie. So Frankie's the only card that can't be cheated out by other cards, which is a little bit sad, but Frankie is a big boy. It is the biggest boy besides the Luffy. They're both 7k. But yeah, nice cheap 7k body that you can get out, which is sometimes hard for your opponent to deal with, but there's not a big ceiling in this deck as well. So this is as big as this deck gets, which is probably its biggest downside. It's very good at spamming the board, but it struggles to go big. So you do struggle into decks that have those big boys. Looking at yellow specifically, lots of big boys there, and your purple as well. We do have some cards in here that do help us with the purple matchup, but when those big boys hit the board, it's hard for us to deal with, which is why some pressure early is nice. All right, we're going to have a look at some of the more defensive cards that are running, which can also be a bit of on the offensive side as well. So we're running 4 copies of the new Uta blocker. So cost you 3, 4,000 body, has 1,000 counter, which is nice. Outside of being a blocker, so we do run 8 blockers in the deck because we've got 4 of the Luffy. The Uta's effect is end of your turn, you may trash 1 event card from your hand, set 1 of your film type characters as active. So we run 14 events in the deck, so it is likely that you will have an event in your hand. But it allows you to swing with some of your characters, but still be able to protect them as well, which is really nice. In particular, it's really good with the blocker Luffy, so you can swing with the blocker Luffy and then still be able to restand and block with it later on. And as we mentioned before, can be cheated out by Luffy itself, by the Brook, as well as by the Law. Next card we're running a full play set of Chopper. Chopper's the only 2k counter that we have in the deck. Basically only ever used as a 2k counter. Very, very rare situations you're going to be using the effect, which is Don times 1. When attacking, you can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Usually that's just low little searches, cards that you don't want to see hanging around. All right, moving on to the remainder of our events. We've already seen 4 of them in the new Genesis, the Searcher. The next one that we're running 3 copies of Black Light. So this card's actually really good. Costs you 2. Activate main if your leader is Uta, which it is. We can choose one of the following things. We can either rest something with a cost of 5 or less, which hits lots of things in this meta. The only thing that will probably hit very limited things is Enel. They're not going to touch their top end, but you're going to hit their Gadatsus, their Ohms, their Holies, that sort of stuff there, or their Searches and Shirahoshis, all those things like that. Purple, you're hitting most of their deck except for their big boys as well. And then when it comes to Sakazuki, you're pretty much hitting everything except for the 7 cost Borsalino. And then if they're running the 10 cost Kaido, that's the only other thing you're not going to touch, but you're going to hit everything else when it comes to Sakazuki. So the card's really good to rest a blocker so you can swing for game. Really good helping with ball control. To rest something, then you can swing into some characters there, or you can use your resources to swing into leader and then use this card to take out some of their rested characters. The next card that we are running is a full play set of 3 sword style Onigiri. So this costs you 3 and it's a counter event, so you can give something 6,000 power during the battle. Then this one actually also helps you play out cards as well. You can play one character with a cost of 3 or less, but it has to be a vanilla. So your options are the Jinbei and the Usopp. They're the only 2 cards that you can play out with Onigiri, which is why we're also running a full play set of them, because there is another way we can cheat them out. The last and final card that we are running in the deck, we're running 3 copies of I'm Invincible. This one costs you 3, it's activate main, you can set your leader as active again. So turns it into a captain kid from the starter deck captain kid. So optimally, if you need to have an extra swing for game, you can attach 7 Don to your leader, which is makes it a 12k leader, and you can get 2 12k swings with I'm Invincible, which is really handy, really nice. The trigger for I'm Invincible is one of your leader's characters gains 1000 power during the turn, which can be quite nice to just help you survive, help some of your characters survive. I did forget to mention the trigger for 3 sword style Onigiri is you can rest one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5 or less. So very similar to the black light effect there, but it's an effect out of life, which is really handy to have. Alright, there is the deck in all of its glory. That's the budget build right there. Let us know what you think of the build. If there's anything you do differently, we'd love to hear it. If you pick up a couple of decks and you try it out, we'd love to hear how you go with the deck as well. Look for a fully optimized full power Uta deck as well, with cards from all that we have available coming probably tomorrow. But thank you so much for checking out today's video. Stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.